This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today we're going to talk about why a primary insurer is always on first and an umbrella policy is always excess over and above the amounts promised by the primary policy. Two insurance companies argued who must indemnify an insured for a settlement involving their mutual insured. Great American Insurance Company paid subject to a reservation and sued the primary insurer, Allied World Assurance Company, alleging that because it was the umbrella insurer, it only owed after Allied World, as the primary insurer, paid its limits. The district court agreed, granting summary judgment in Great American's favor. In Great American versus Allied World, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit on May 31, 2023, determined who was on first to the obligation to indemnify the insured, Tribridge Residential. After two women were shot and killed at an apartment complex that Tribridge managed, an ensuing lawsuit alleged Tribridge negligently failed to implement security. Tribridge settled that suit with the plaintiffs. Three different insurance companies insured Tribridge: AmTrust International Underwriters, an insurance company that issued Tribridge a primary commercial general liability policy, paid out its policy limit toward the settlement. Then Allied World and Great American disagreed about which policy was the priority coverage for the rest of the settlement. The Allied World policy was issued to Tribridge as a commercial general liability policy and as a primary policy containing an excess clause purporting to render its coverage excess of other insurance when liability arises from Tribridge's property management activities. Great American issued a commercial umbrella policy which included Tribridge as an additional insured. The policy covers those sums in excess of the retained limit that the insured becomes legally obligated to pay, imposed by law or because of bodily injury. Great American paid the rest of the settlement against Tribridge and sued Allied World, seeking equitable contribution and a declaratory judgment that its coverage obligation was not triggered until Allied World's policy limit was exhausted. And since Allied World paid nothing, it had not been exhausted. Georgia law delineates between a primary insurance policy written to provide primary coverage and an umbrella policy operating as a true excess over and above any type of primary insurance. All primary coverage must be exhausted before umbrella policy coverage is triggered. Primary policies precede umbrella policies even when the primary policy includes an applicable excess clause. Umbrella policies, almost without dispute, are regarded as true excess over and above any type of primary coverage, excess provisions arising in regular policies in any manner or even with escape clauses. Primary policies take priority to umbrella policies even when the primary policy includes an applicable excess clause. Great American's commercial umbrella coverage policy only covered those sums in excess of listed underlying insurance. The Allied World policy is written to provide primary coverage, and the Great American policy is the true excess policy accordingly. The 11th Circuit concluded that Allied World's primary policy must be exhausted before the Great American umbrella policy applied. In sum, Allied World is first in the pecking order as the primary insurer, and Great American is next in line And since Allied World's policy limit was sufficient to satisfy the entire settlement, there was nothing truly owed by Great American. Summary judgment was affirmed for Great American, but the court did reverse the award of attorney's fees. In my opinion, the great comedians Abbott and Costello created the Who's on First routine that brought laughter to the question of who is in control. In this case, a primary insurer, even with an excess and or an escape clause. In their policy, the primary is always on first, and the umbrella only owes after the primary. The insurer on first pays its limit, and then the umbrella on second base pays whatever is needed after the primary pays its limit. Allied World may have been excess to the other primary policy, but not to the umbrella, and Allied World tried to avoid its obligation, failed, and is required to reimburse Great American. If you found this post and this video to be useful, please inform your friends and colleagues so that they can subscribe and can view the post, as can anyone, for free at the URL zalma.com/blog. You can also subscribe to the videos at rumble.com or at YouTube. And if you do, I'd appreciate it if you click on the like button or the thumbs up button and tell your friends and colleagues that they can also subscribe. And if you want further detail in insurance, insurance law, and insurance claims, you can subscribe and receive additional videos at my locals community or at my Substack publications. Thank you for your attention.